Jamie Farr spent decades making people laugh on screen. But behind the scenes, one story mattered more than fame.
Then she started where she wanted to expose her bosom. So a lot of times what would happen, people didn't know this, when I would be fighting with her and get her on the floor, it wasn't to stop her from gonging, it was stopping her from exposing her bosoms.
Before CBS sitcom MASH turned him into a television legend, he struggled to find steady work and wondered if his career would ever take off. Through every setback, one person stayed beside him. She never let go of his hand, even when things got tough. Now, in his 90s, Jamie finally talks about the promise she kept and why it still matters.
Sir, I have sipped, lapped, and taken gin intravenously, but I have never swilled.
Jamie Farr's wife remains with him. Jamie Farr, legendary for his high-heeled run across the MASH set, now navigates his 9th decade in a wheelchair. Rheumatoid arthritis has stolen much from him, like the strength in his hands, the ease of standing, and even the comfort of a simple hug. One evening, as twilight spilled through their living room, he turned to his wife of 60 years, Joy Ann Richards, and in a gentle whisper said, "I'm sorry you have to take care of me like this." Joy leaned in, her voice soft and certain. She said, "You made the world laugh, Jamie. Now let me make you rest." Since then, she has become more than a caregiver. She is his anchor. Each morning, she gently wheels him to their porch, where the first light of day warms his face. They sit together in companionable silence, listening to the world wake up, and Jamie begins to recount stories, like how Alan Alda told jokes between takes, how Loretta swore she'd miss the mess of the set, and how tears fell the day their time on MASH ended. When pain crashes in like unwanted waves, Joy reaches for his hand. She presses it to her cheek and says something only he can hear. "You're still my favorite soldier." He smiles, tears shining in his eyes, and replies, "And you. You are the reason I can still stand, even when standing hurts too much." It's not a love built for Hollywood headlines or big declarations. Their intimacy lives in the small, steady routines. The soft brush of her hand, the gentle coaxing to rest, and the stories told over morning light. It's the kind of love that doesn't need applause and is strong enough to carry through the hardest of days. Even as his body weakens, their bond deepens. She remains his calm, his courage, and his constant support. In the quiet surrender of his vulnerability, she remains his unwavering strength. Jamie Farr's wife and their love story have always remained iconic, with how long they have remained in love with each other. About Jamie Farr's wife and love story. Jamie Farr and Joy Ann Richards share a love story that feels like it was written for the movies, though their real-life romance ran much deeper than Hollywood glitz. Their journey begins at a humble point. Jamie Farr was fresh out of his military service and was a struggling actor with dreams in his eyes but very little pocket change. When he asked Joy to marry him, he couldn't even afford a ring. Instead, he offered her something more profound, which was his heart, promise, and leap of faith. He said, "I may not have everything, and you may be hitching your star to a falling comet, but why don't we take a chance on us?" Joy was a model with grace and strength, accepting his proposal with no hesitation. She wasn't getting married because of a ring, but because of the man. That decision set the tone for a partnership rooted in trust, loyalty, and unwavering belief. They tied the knot on February 16, 1963, in a modest but heartfelt ceremony. And from that day on, Joy became the quiet anchor in Jamie's life. For years, Jamie held odd jobs, like working as a postal clerk, delivery man, and even working on a chinchilla ranch while he chased his dream. There were lean months, uncertainty, and struggles, but Joy never wavered. Her support wasn't flashy. She cooked, comforted, and carried the weight of their ambitions, grounded by her faith in Jamie's talent. Meanwhile, Jamie prayed and stayed hopeful, sometimes stopping by a church to pray and trust that something bigger was at work. Then came Jamie's big break with MASH. His role as Corporal Maxwell Klinger brought him fame, financial security, and finally, the chance to fulfill the promise he made to Joy long ago. 13 years after their union, he presented her with a dazzling 1.5-carat emerald ring, surrounded by diamonds. The moment was deeply emotional, as they were at their favorite restaurant with their children, and the manager delivered the ring on a silver platter. Their family grew. Jamie and Joy welcomed 2 children, a son, Jonas, and a daughter, Yvonne. Through the pressures of fame, the demands of work, and even personal struggles, including Jamie's long battle with rheumatoid arthritis, Joy remained his rock. What makes their story resonate is its simplicity and depth. It wasn't a whirlwind Hollywood romance, but a slow, steady build. Their lived-in partnership was anchored in sacrifice, faith, and perseverance. Joy didn't just wait for Jamie to succeed, but she believed he would. When success came, Jamie didn't forget his promise. Together, they built a life full of laughter, love, and meaning, not because of his stardom, but because of their unshakable bond. Decades on, their marriage is a rare testament in Hollywood, and Jamie Farr admits that she never let go of his hand. Jamie Farr often says that Joy isn't just the love of his life, but the real star behind his success. Before he met her, he did something that you won't believe, which was to serve under Red Skelton in the Army. Red Skelton in the Army. Jamie Farr's service in the U.S. Army created one of the most unlikely and heartwarming behind-the-scenes partnerships in show business, with the great comedian Red Skelton. Jamie was drafted in 1957, and he had already crossed paths with Skelton through The Red Skelton Show, where he'd played a character named Snorkel. When he entered the Army, his career took a new turn, but the bond he'd formed with Skelton could soon reshape his destiny. After basic training at Fort Ord, Farr Jamie was assigned as a broadcast specialist. He worked on training films in New York at the Army Pictorial Center, a role that put him behind the camera rather than under the spotlight. His talent for production didn't go unnoticed, and when he was later deployed to Japan and Korea, he joined the Special Services Unit and contributed to the Far East Network, entertaining troops through radio broadcasts. The turning point came when Red Skelton, mourning the loss of his young son, decided to tour military bases in Korea and Japan. To bring comfort and laughter to American soldiers, he requested that Jamie be his assistant. The Army granted it, and Jamie was shipped out to join Skelton's morale-boosting tour. On board a United Nations aircraft, the two traveled across encampments, even up to the 38th parallel, performing for troops under trying conditions. Jamie didn't take a passive role, but he introduced Skelton, handled backstage tasks, and even participated in sketches. In one comedic misunderstanding, Skelton asked for a gin bottle for a prop, and officers kept supplying martinis. Jamie never failed to laugh. The tour deepened the connection between them, and Skelton's support during those days will come back to help in. When his 2-year stint of active duty ended in 1959, Jamie thought his acting career might be over. His father had passed away, and he felt financial pressure to support his family. When he told Skelton he might leave show business, Skelton refused to hear it. He handed Jamie a wad of cash to send home and personally hired him for his nightclub act. That became the basis for Jamie's post-military comeback. Through Skelton's mentorship, Jamie rebuilt his career and toured with him, appeared on his TV show, and later went on to carve out his iconic role as Corporal Klinger on MASH. But taking the role on MASH wasn't all smooth sailing, and Jamie found himself facing controversies that affected his career and even his marriage, although joy never let go of his hand. Cross-dressing controversies. In MASH, Corporal Max Klinger's cross-dressing wasn't meant to represent gender identity or a genuine desire to be a woman. It was a hyperbolic, comic ploy. Klinger donned wedding gowns, sequined dresses, and outrageous outfits as a running joke, all part of his obsessive scheme to secure a Section 8 discharge from the U.S. Army by convincing superiors he was mentally unfit. Still, behind the levity, there was real tension. Jamie Farr was playing Klinger, eventually asking the show's writers to tone down the dress gag. It wasn't because of creative reasons, but because of his family. He feared his young children were being teased at school for having a father who regularly paraded in skirts on TV. Over time, the writers agreed. As Klinger matured and took on more responsibility, becoming the 4077th company clerk, his cross-dressing was phased out. The controversy wasn't just about the kids. Jamie's decision was mostly because of the social pressures of the era. In a time when gender nonconformity was less accepted, having a beloved TV character cross-dress nightly carried real-world consequences. His family was also embarrassed by his career. Jamie's mother was ashamed the first time she saw him in a dress on television and didn't like talking about it before others. It was later on that she warmed to it as she realized how much joy his antics brought viewers. When Jamie asked the producers to reduce the cross-dressing, they decided to help him by evolving his character's arc. The cross-dressing shifted from a central, exaggerated strategy to one of many quirks, making room for deeper character development. He remained with MASH for many years until the show was concluded, and that was when he had no choice but to say goodbye to the show that gave him fame, a newfound family, and a chance to take care of the love of his life and their children. Retirement from MASH. When Jamie Farr talks about leaving MASH, it's clear he didn't see it simply as retiring from a TV show. To him, it felt like saying goodbye to family. Over the 11 seasons, the cast and crew had built something more than friendships. It was a tight, unbreakable bond. During the filming of the final episode, the emotion was so real and raw that co-creator and producer Burt Metcalf later admitted he had to ask everyone to stop crying so that the cameras could continue rolling. The finale was titled Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen, and aired on February 28, 1983. It marked not just the end of a war satire, but the closing of a chapter in the lives of the 4077th and those who played them. According to Jamie, he secretly wanted MASH to go on forever because it was part of your everyday existence. When the show ended, he admitted that, "Come Monday morning, we have no place to go." Once the cameras stopped. In the final scenes, Klinger, the scheming, cross-dressing corporal played by Jamie, makes a deeply unexpected choice. He marries Soon Lee, a Korean refugee, and decides to stay in Korea to help her find her family. That moment brings a powerful emotional closure to his long-running attempts to be discharged. In the end, he finds love and purpose, even if it means staying behind. Jamie has spoken openly about how overwhelming the finale was for him. He called the massive public response frightening, knowing that over 100 million people would be watching, saying goodbye to them. Still, even in his sadness, he recognized something beautiful. What he gained wasn't just a role, but a second family. He once said that MASH gave him steady work, but more than that, He gained a family that never really left. More than 4 decades later, that closeness remains. Jamie has kept in touch with his former castmates, sharing laughs, memories, and even reunions. After MASH, he remained active in the entertainment industry, diversifying his career across film, television, and the stage. Jamie is known for his roles in the Cannonball Run films, where he played the character of Sheikh Abdul Ben Falafel. He made numerous guest appearances on various TV shows throughout the 1980s and 90s, and also participated in several MASH reunion specials and documentaries over the years. He also returned to his theatrical roots, which were an important part of his career after MASH. He appeared on Broadway in revivals of classic musicals and plays, starring in Guys and Dolls and Lend Me a Tenor. He toured nationally with various plays too, but as time went on, his career grew and he faced health issues. But his wife, Joy, never let go of his hand. Health issues. Jamie Farr has been facing health challenges since the 1990s, with major battles like rheumatoid arthritis and a health condition. Jamie has been fighting severe rheumatoid arthritis since the early 1990s. This chronic autoimmune disease causes painful inflammation in his joints, gradually robbing him of mobility and making even the simplest tasks difficult. Over time, the condition has taken such a toll that, as of recent years, and now that he's over 90, he often relies on a wheelchair. Despite this, those close to him say his wit and warmth remain unchanged, and he still carries that spark of humor that made him beloved. His heart troubles first grabbed headlines in 2014, when he collapsed during a dinner show in Edmonton, Canada. He was rushed to the hospital and later flew back to California, where doctors discovered blocked arteries. He had a stent inserted to treat his atherosclerosis, and this was a clear sign that his heart was under strain. Matters grew more serious in 2018, when Jamie collapsed again during rehearsals for a stage show. That episode became a turning point. This was his decision to retire from live performances, and he prioritized his health over the stage. Through it all, Jamie has remained positive and has support from his wife, Joy. Even when facing the life-altering diagnosis and severe pain, he remained optimistic. He often quotes a line from Auntie Mame, "Life is a banquet, and some poor suckers are starving to death." It's a reminder that, despite his challenges, he knows gratitude and laughter are still very much part of his story. The same year when he had to retire because of his health, he and his wife faced one of the biggest challenges of their lives but pulled through together. Surviving a wildfire. In 2018, Jamie Farr and his wife Joy faced a terrifying real-life trial. This was the Woolsey Fire, one of California's most destructive wildfires. Their home, tucked into Bell Canyon, was in the crosshairs, and the couple joined other terrified residents in evacuating as flames swallowed hillsides nearby. Although the fire was close and reduced about 30 neighboring homes to ashes, Jamie and Joy were able to escape safely, and their house was miraculously spared. Even as they fled, Jamie said he watched the hillside turn black with smoke and embers, wondering how many lives and homes would be lost. For Jamie and Joy, it wasn't just a dangerous evacuation. It was a brush with loss that served as a stark reminder of life's fragility. Yet in the face of such peril, their bond only seemed to strengthen. Through that harrowing night, Joy stayed by his side and was a steady presence amid the uncertainty. In the aftermath, they were left to digest what had happened. They were grateful for what remained and remained aware of how close they came to losing everything. Joy and Jamie went through this together, and over the years, they focused on giving back to the community. Jamie became known as a philanthropist, and didn't hesitate to contribute to others. Philanthropist Jamie Farr's philanthropy is deeply rooted in his hometown and his lifelong commitment to helping children. One of his most significant charitable legacies is the Greater Toledo Classic, a women's professional golf tournament he lent his name to. Since it began in 1984, the event has raised millions for children's charities in Northwest Ohio and Southeast Michigan, including the Ronald McDonald House Charities, pediatric hospitals, and the Jamie Farr Scholarship Fund. Through the Scholarship Fund, high school seniors in the Toledo area receive renewable college scholarships, helping young people access education they might otherwise struggle to afford. Jamie's ongoing dedication to the tournament showcases how he used his celebrity not for personal gain, but to build something lasting and impactful in his community. Beyond golf, Jamie's philanthropic reach extends into youth development. He was inducted into the Boys and Girls Clubs of America Alumni Hall of Fame in recognition of his support for their mission. For many children, his generosity and visibility reinforce the message that someone cares about their future. Although Jamie might not be related to a traditional foundation under his own name, his charitable work has built a bridge from starred TV life to grassroots impact. Today, Jamie Farr remains a leading industry in Hollywood despite his age, and his wife never let go of his hand. Jamie Farr today. Today, Jamie Farr lives a quieter, more reflective life. He's living a life grounded in warmth, humor, and the deep bond he shares with his wife, Joy Ann Richards. At 91 years old, he often uses a wheelchair, a result of his long battle with rheumatoid arthritis. Despite his health challenges, his spirit remains sharp, and he continues to be celebrated for his legacy. In 2025, Jamie made headlines when he was slated to appear at FanX Salt Lake Comic Convention, though he later canceled his appearance due to shingles. That moment offered a rare reminder that even in retirement he's still connected to his fans and his iconic MASH role. He remains very close with his former co-stars, too. In a recent interview, Jamie reflected on MASH as more than just a show, calling the cast his perfect dream cast, and noting how the series feels like a family album full of people he deeply loved. At home with Joy, his partner for over 6 decades, Jamie enjoys simple pleasures, memories, good conversation, and the calm of his ranch. With everything that Jamie Farr has experienced, he admits that his wife, Joy, never let go of his hand. They remain together today, enjoying their old age together after a long and eventful life. What's your favorite movie from Jamie? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. So, thanks for watching this video, and we will see you in the next one.